Welcome to another Burgundy with Tweedy video. It is barely 24 hours since I got back from the South Downs, and you'd think I would have fully scratched the itch of alfresco Burgundy, but it's a nice day and I couldn't help coming back out again. I'm just on the heath this time. This is a producer called Tawse. There's some relationship between Pascal Marchand and Tawse. Is one the owner and the other is just the name of the estate, whatever. I don't know. It is a village level Gevrey Chambertin. It is a 2019 vintage, and I just picked this up from not too far from me. There is this sort of French deli place that I occasionally pop into, sometimes walk out empty-handed because there's nothing there that really jumps off the shelf, but I think this is a relatively new item in stock for them. I love 2019 as a vintage. You know me, I love Gevrey Chambertin, and actually the price was pretty good. Again, I always have to caveat this is the crazy world of Burgundy. Everything's crazily expensive, but it was just under 50 quid. It was £49. That shop can be a little bit on the pricey side because it also does acts as a wine bar as well, and I think the off sales and on sales prices are different, but quite often in that scenario you pay a little bit over the odds. But I thought that was a good deal, under 50 quid for Gevrey Chambertin, of a vintage that I very much like and is ready now. I think an organic producer, maybe even biodynamic, I forget. I have had stuff from these guys before. Honestly can't really remember what it was like. I think that was another Gevrey Chambertin, and it might have been a named vineyard rather than this, which is their sort of explicitly has the word village on it, which is quite unusual. You don't see that very often, do you? You're supposed to just know it's village level Gevrey Chambertin because it doesn't have any other qualifiers on it. What am I doing here? Why am I putting my prongs away? I'm a tiny bit short of time this evening, so this is going to have to be a one glass review, I'm afraid. It's an interesting sound. The chap in the shop was very enthusiastic about this. People in shops always are. They never say, don't buy this, it's rubbish. I don't want to use the word murky in a negative way, but there is something slightly murky to that colour. As always, imperfect lighting here, but yeah, sort of darkish and not particularly bright, translucent sort of colour. However, that nose is lighter, brighter fruit in character than the colour might suggest. I don't think it's dark, it's murky. Does that sound weird? Yeah, and a different kind of fruit character to what I might have guessed there. One of those ones where ridiculously I want to say grapey, which always sounds absurd for wine. Of course it's grapey, it's wine. Not so obviously cherry. There is some kind of fruit there, mixture of fruit, but going a tiny bit melony, tiny bit plummy maybe. And I think there is something floral in amongst that as well, which might be what's confusing me in terms of the fruit character. A bit hard to pin down there. It's fresh, slightly floral, kind of fragrant, delicate. Okay. Not noticing a lot of tannins. Nice fruit character there. Again, struggling to think what that is. I suppose there's sort of various types of red berry fruit in there. Red currants, raspberries, strawberries, a little bit of that. And it's nice and fresh, nice and bright. Quite a zing to that acidity there. What is that floral character? I really want to get to the bottom of that. Slightly rosy, maybe. Well, there's more to it than that. There's a bit of a sort of the inside of a florist's there. And that acidity really is pretty forthright there. Almost a tiniest sensation of fizz, which is weird, isn't it? The mouthfeel of that, given that acidity. It isn't fizzy, but it has that sort of way of tricking the tongue into thinking it is something like effervescent. And again, fresh and juicy. Not a huge amount of tannin there, which is great. Not something I usually miss. A little bit of a papery sensation towards the end, but nothing huge. I'm running out of time a bit here, so I'm going to have to try and come up with some sort of summary. I do like the nose. Nice floral hints there. Still struggling to pin down the fruit character there. There is almost certainly sort of red berry fruit in the mix here, but other stuff as well. It's more complex than that. This might actually need a tiny bit more time to settle down. I love acidity in wine in general, but I just feel like that's taking centre stage a tiny bit too much there, maybe. I feel I'm noticing that more, and perhaps it's partly because I'm struggling to put names and words on some of the other character. Maybe that needs a year or two to be, I think it would be better perhaps in a year or two when the acidity has softened slightly. But there are other interesting notes around the edges. There is a bit of savoury character there, something slightly mushroomy. Almost, I feel like I had a hint of spice just now, but that was a fleeting glimpse, and I'm not sure that's there anymore. I'm noticing the tannins a bit more now. It's definitely interesting. It may well be one of those wines that is much more enjoyable towards the end of the bottle rather than it is this slightly rushed first glass, and that's always probably better in proper stemware and with a bit of airing and all of that stuff. Maybe better suited with food rather than a sort of al fresco aperitif. So yes, sorry, bit of an inconclusive review there. Perhaps I'll put some notes on screen with my findings later, but I doubt I'm going to get round to recording any more for the rest of this evening. Anyway, cheers.